gasp. Everybody gasps in unison. The whole gym is fucking silent as Elijah pulls the kid up from the ground. His leg is completely fine. Coach chews them out for causing a scene over nothing. Oddly enough, people started hating Elijah after this. He became a total pariah, which he didn't actually seem to mind since he and I were best friends. We hung out by ourselves the rest of that year until his family moved back to Louisiana that summer. We eventually lost touch and I went back to having no friends, which I don't really mind either. After all, I've got you/x/. Anyway, please feel free to keep contributing. I'm enjoying all of these reads. 10 or 11 years old. In Boy Scouts, on week-long group camping trip with my whole troop and some parents as chaperones. Campground is a series of wooden shacks, wooden bunk beds on 3 sides with the 4th side totally open, tarp hung over to keep wind/rain out. 4th night, go to sleep as normal. My spot was the top bunk in the back. Wake up in the middle of the night. Poke head up and see I'm in a different bunk, now on the top right side. Sleeping bag feels different, the stuff I kept around the top of my bunk isn't there. No idea what time it was. Notice weird lights coming from outside, small beams that appear to move on an axis. No pattern, but it kept this up the entire time I was conscious. Look in towards the center of the shack, see some kind of figure standing there, in silhouette. Head is tall and squared off, looked like 4 to 5 feet tall, head was looking down. Body looked mostly humanish, but small for how big the head was. Watch this thing for what feels like hours, but probably much less than that. Scared shitless, too afraid to move or do anything. Eventually put my head back down and try to go back to sleep. Wake up in the morning in my usual spot. Probably just a dream, but definitely the weirdest one I've ever had. Also by far and away the longest. When I remember my dreams I remember only brief flashes and feelings, but this is different. I remember feeling around for my stuff, looking outside, down at the creature, back outside again, going back and forth a few times. One thing I wish I had done in hindsight was take stock of myself. I wonder if I was transported into the other kid's bunk, or if we had switched bodies or something. Work at an outdoor bar. One of those kitschy ones that's supposed to feel like the beach. Huge space. The bar is all the way at the back for some reason. One night, closing. The last thing I have to do is shut off the lights. This makes the walk to the entrance/exit kinda spooky. It's always in near total darkness. The only visibility comes from the street light by the front gate. As I'm walking out I see a person standing between me and the front gate. Fuck. It's a jogger. Motherfucker looks huge. Yorubaigue.Bane. I sincerely think I'm about to get twisted into a pretzel and robbed, or maybe shot if Tyrone is in a merciful mood. Are you there, God? It's me, Anon. God hears my prayer. The shape dissipates with a weird buzzing sound. Not disappears. It scatters into a million pieces that look like bits of paper scattering in the wind. Buzzing sound hangs in the air for a moment and then everything's quiet. Run TF out and swear not to work a closing shift ever again. Did I have an encounter with Beelzebub? In this story, the new owner of an old house discovers a small locked door under the basement steps with a warning not to open it. However, she pays no heed. Last month, my husband and I finally bought our dream house. It's on the edge of a large forest and I love it. It's a little paradise hidden by the large pine trees that grow on the premises. I honestly don't know where my backyard ends and the forest starts. The house is everything I've ever dreamed of. I'm a musician and usually I work from home, so for me the transition out of New York City and into the country wasn't too big. Had to quit his job. He gave notice last week and still has 1 week to go. We had to leave our old apartment a few days ago, so for the time being he stays with a friend in the city, while I have already moved to our new house. This week, it would just be me and our 2 dogs. As fate would have it, some strange things have started to happen. On Sunday, I was unpacking boxes and storing some items in the basement along with other unused stuff. This basement is cold and windowless, not much bigger than a walk-in closet. I walked down the wooden stairs and dropped the box in a corner when I noticed there was a small hatch on the wall under the staircase. I noticed there was only a latch on it to lock it from the outside. I wondered if it could be a door, but the opening was quite narrow, maybe just big enough for a small person, such as myself, to fit. Stepping closer, I noticed a small plaque that said, "Keep shut at all times." I opened it anyway. There really wasn't anything to see, though. It was dark inside and the light from the basement was way too dim to light it at all. From inside came a clicking or snapping kind of noise. Not rhythmic, but consistent. I thought it maybe was some type of machine. I didn't dare stick my head or hand in for fear of getting electrocuted or something, so I shut the hatch and figured I'd take a look when I'd unpacked my flashlight. The following days, things got pretty weird. On Monday the dogs were going nuts. As soon as the first one stopped barking, the other would start again. They were just barking into nothing, dark corners of the ceilings in rooms that weren't lit. Tuesday the dogs had settled down, but that night, while making dinner, I heard the same clicking that I had heard coming from the space behind the hatch. It was coming from a corner in the living room, a dark area barely illuminated by the light from the kitchen. I approached quietly, but as I was about to flip the light switch, one of the dogs flew past me and charged at the corner, barking. Whatever was making the noise stopped. I turned on the light, but nothing was there. I called my husband that night and told him about the weird noise. He said he'd look into it when he got to the house. That night, I was sleeping soundly when one of the dogs started scratching at my bedroom door. I had just painted the door, so I groaned as I heard the dog's nails dragging across the fresh paint. But I was so tired I immediately drifted back to sleep without letting him in. When I woke up I remembered my dog scratching at the door and I cursed and hastily got up to check how badly he'd ruined the paint. But both the dogs were in my bedroom. When I went down for breakfast I noticed the bowl of dog food was completely empty, even though I'd just refilled it the night before. I called my husband that evening and told him I thought we had an infestation of some sort. You might think that I would have been scared at this point, but I hadn't quite connected the dots. After calling my husband I sat down with a book and a glass of wine out on the porch. I hadn't really noticed how exhausted I was from unpacking. Not 10 minutes into reading I fell asleep. It must have been past midnight when I woke up from the motion-activated lights in the backyard switching on. Half asleep I turned to look and what I saw shocked me wide awake. About 30 feet away stood a tall, slender figure hunched over, seeming to drink from the bird bath in the garden. For a few seconds I just sat there, frozen in fear, watching the figure drink. It had long, thin limbs, and its skin was pitch black. It was like a shadow that just rose from the pavement and became a person. Then it stopped drinking and lifted its head to look at me, and I was able to make out a mouth full of teeth. Its two clouded gray eyes looked right at me, and for a second I thought it intended to attack. But the figure just backed away into the darkness where it became immediately invisible. The leaves rustled, farther and farther into the woods, and it was gone. I ran inside and locked myself and the dogs in the bathroom until sunrise. Then I called my husband and told him everything. He said he'd come over ASAP. In the meantime I unpacked some more boxes today to distract myself, but while putting more boxes in the basement, I discovered that the hatch was open. I had definitely closed the latch on Sunday, but I must have forgotten to lock it. In that very moment I remembered the clicking sounds, and the scratching at the bedroom door, and I put two and two together. I think whatever was in there, it's out now. Be lawyer. Make a high six-figure salary and live in American City. Get Uber Eats every night and shitpost on Discord. Very lonely and fat. Scrolling through Tinder one night and get matched with the chunky 7/10 Asian QT. Normally I don't see Asian chicks because they all look alike and aren't very interesting. However, I was really bored and needed some human interaction that wasn't artists on the internet. Decide to meet up on a Thursday night for drinks. She bores the crap out of me throughout the evening talking about her cat, K-pop, and pics of food on Instagram. She really likes me and invites me back. I don't really want to be back home was a half-eaten Wendy's classic double and a few episodes left of Stranger Things. Decide to roll with it because fuck it. Get back to her place and the place is scattered with girl shit everywhere. 12 different shampoos in the bathroom, hair dryer in the kitchen, shoes littered throughout the floor. She tells me it's mostly her roommate's stuff. Her room smells like catnip and I try to politely leave. That's when her roommate arrived. She shows up speaking with a British accent, is a 9/10 Stacy and has a faggot friend with her. The two are on cocaine and the fag starts popping ecstasy and pounding vodka from the fridge. They tell us they're going to a party that night and that we should come. Asian QT says she wants to stay in. I don't really want to stay and am looking for an excuse to leave as the smell of catnip was giving me a stomachache. I say fuck it, I will go. Asian QT proceeds to give me a frumpy face. The fag offers me some blow and I have never been one to turn down free drugs, so I do some. We get in the Uber, at which point I start pondering whether I should ask to be let go at my place.